Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. When I walked in here, I was a little nervous because I saw all my idols growing up as a young boy in Katatura in sports. I first saw Sarah. For those that don't know, during those days we had our stands when you watch at the back of the stadium, and that's where we watch that famous number 8 jersey make history for us. And I say us is for me as a black person. And when my senior Cassius asked me to come and say a few words, you know, in our culture you cannot say no to your seniors, because he was instrumental in making sure that I continue my studies. And then you have Lemmy, you have Rustini on the right side, you have Abner. So many people that have molded me are here. And I just wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and say a few words. I would like to stand here and observe the protocol that was observed, and especially the Deputy Minister. Thank you very much for what you're doing for our sports. It is important to have sports-loving people in sports to make sure that we can make sure that we give the athletes a chance to succeed. I started the Fredericks Foundation in 1999 because I realized that I was very unique in the position where I was. I always asked the question, why me? I grew up watching Riston, and there was another guy that they used to race against. I think it was a David Besaidnoot. They used to race at just across from my school, and they became my heroes, people that I wanted to inspire so that I can grow up running like them, because I realized I was a little faster than the other kids growing up. But also at age 13, I had very naughty friends. For some of you, you know the naughty friends I grew up with in the dusty streets of Katatura. And I had to make a decision at age 12, 13. I had to decide whether I want to stay at the shop corners with these guys. Every day when I come back from school, I'll go and hang out with them at the shop corners. We'll do naughty things. And then just before 5, I'll go home, clean myself up, and wait for my mom like a good boy. But at age 12, 13, you know, I realized that this is not going to be lasting. I had to make a decision, and I had to make a serious decision. I came home one day and I told my mom, I just need to get out of Katatura. I don't care where you send me. You can send me to MLH, which was one of the boarding schools there. You can send me to Drenopsis. I don't care. You can send me anywhere as long as I can get out of this environment. Because my goal became that I had to stay in school, making sure that I get an education so that I can take my mother out of poverty. She just came off the phone one day, and she couldn't afford to buy a second-hand sewing machine because it was too expensive. And that gave me my purpose. It gave me my purpose to make sure that one day I'll work so hard so I can take this lady out of poverty. To me, that meant that I had to make sure that I get an education. I'm very happy to see that there is, and I would encourage us to get an athlete-friendly schools, athlete-friendly universities, and athlete-friendly like we have heard today. Because, you know, as much as athletes are putting in, you know, in sports or in education, sometimes we need just a little bit of help. And in my case, it was athletics was at the beginning of the year, and then after, they forget about you. Exams are at the end of the year. And most of the athletes that I gave scholarships to find a hard time, at that time it was grade 10, to pass grade 10. Because athletics stop in the beginning of the year, there's no teachers and no sporting teachers that will encourage these athletes to continue to go and get an education so that they can finish grade 10 and then continue to go in grade 12. And I'm happy that I heard about the projects that they have here. so that we can encourage younger athletes to make sure that they can continue to sport. I was very lucky that I got in at Dearborough. And for those that know Dearborough, it's like you're at a sports school. All we did was we went to school. After lunch, we went to the sports fields. Then we had a study hour for 1 hour. After that, we all back to the sports fields, whatever sports you wanted to do. And then we had dinner, and then you had your study sessions. So that environment gave me the opportunity to continue with my education. Whereas if I continued to stay in Katura, I would not have had that opportunity to study in the evenings. I would not have studied in lunchtime. So that gave me the opportunity to really work on my sporting skill, and I'm really thankful for what happened at Dearborough. After Dearborough, I was selected to come to a school called Concordia, which was more to do with education. They selected all the top kids in Namibia. And it was funny. I mean, sometimes we will lose 5-0 to teams, and the guys were happy. Who cares? We are smarter than them. But my competitiveness inside me killed me, because I could not understand how in the world do you go on a field, you lose, and then you come back in the bus cheering and thankful. So I realized that I was in trouble. I would not succeed in soccer, because our team, sometimes I score 2 goals and then I have to go back and defend, and then the guys will score 3 goals and then we lose. So the guys were just happy not to do that. So I had to make sure that when I arrived at Concordia, now you have to imagine, my dream was just to finish matric. After I finish matric, I find a job, and then I can now give all the goodies to my mother. I came to Concordia, a guy started talking about they want to be dentists, they want to go to university. I said, what? They want to, and I realized, there's life after high school. And the only thing that I had that time was my sports. My sports became my trump card, and I realized that I could not go to somebody and say, please sponsor me, because I'm a good player in football. I'm sure if they went to an Orlando Pirates, my boss or somebody, and asked my boss, who's the best player in Namibia, he would have mentioned an Orlando Pirates person, and then you would have lost your opportunity to get to a scholarship. But in athletics, when you cross the line first, nobody can dispute as to who is the fastest. And it's much easier for me. Some of my friends, when we played in Black Africa, couldn't understand why I spent so much time on also making sure that I made sure that my skills in athletics were also honed. It was because it was much easier to sell when you go to somebody and you speak to somebody, and it's much easier to say to the person, I'm the best, and please give me an opportunity to go and further my career. And that is why I took both as serious as I could. And that is now about hard work, because you have to, as an athlete, and all these athletes that are giving opportunities here, need to understand that, we can only push you so far, but you need to make sure that you work hard and make sure that you get an opportunity to further that. And I think you just heard about the role that the mines played. I was very lucky that when I was matric, when I was standard 8, I think that is when the switch went into my head. I think there was a guy called Gerard Barnard that used to beat us barefoot. Most of us wanted to have spikes because the tartan was hot, but this guy used to beat us barefoot. And I think standard 8, the switch went on in my head, that if I pay a lot of attention on the track, that I could be better. And it didn't matter about, the spikes, you can do it barefoot, because this white kid showed us that it is possible to do it. And that went the switch. In standard 9, I became a total different person. It was so embarrassing when I went to the stadium, and when I lost, because my whole school, I think during those days you have to understand, the white schools competed, the black schools competed, and then we only got together at the one meet where we had where the schools came back, where we had to go strength against strength, and I had now the whole community to represent. My whole school was there. And you could see the disappointment in my friends, because I thought I was the man, because I was beating everybody. And then, I went to to the school's final, and I got beaten or whipped, as they say in English. And that changed my mind, and I said, okay, if I work harder, forget about the soccer thing all the time. If I work harder, it will be possible for me to do that. But like I said, I just wish at my school that I would have preferred to maybe stay one extra year in matric, make sure that I could get better grades. Because if you pursue your sports, and you're not just doing academics, I think we need to find athlete-friendly schools to help the athlete that you can finish matric in maybe, let's say, instead of having the 12 years, you can finish high school you can finish school in 13 years, because it gives you that extra year. You don't have to have all these classes. During our times, we had 6 classes, but you had to pass all 6 classes to be able to get to university. If I could have had maybe 3 classes and then the 3 classes next year, I would have been a better student, and I would have been a better athlete, because I can do things. Because you have to understand, during my matric farewell, my matric year, I had to go to South Africa to go to universities. I had to go and compete as a junior Springbok. And it was quite funny, because I always tell my friends that, in my matric year, only one person failed in the whole class of Concordia. And our results used to come out around December 25th, around there. I don't know why they want to give us a Christmas present like that. And some of the guys, those days we used to just get numbers was the results. Some of the guys called me and said, oh, Frankie, how do you feel, knowing that they all thought it was me that failed? Because I was not at school as much as they were. I was traveling every weekend. If it was not to a university to go and get a scholarship, it was to compete. And in seeking these scholarships, I was so short-sighted. I went to a South African university. The guys just offered me a BMW. They say, if you come back, they took me to a BMW shop. And at that time, it's the time when the guys were driving the shadow lines in Karatura. And you have to understand, as a young boy, when you see that, the guys took me and said, if you come to this university, I will not name the university, you can select any of those BMWs there standing. I came back on Sunday. I told my mom and Uncle Dan at that time. I said, no, I've decided on a university. I'm going to this university. And they just asked me a few questions, and he said, Uncle Dan said, over my dead body, are you going to this university? I cried for a week, because I could see my BMW going away. But I think it was the best decision that a mentor have ever given me. If they would have let me go for the BMW, I don't know where my career would have been. I lost the BMW, but I got an opportunity to go to a university where the people cared for me. And this is where I want to talk to the athletes especially. Do not be afraid to share with people your dreams. As athletes, we get 1 or 2 opportunities. You will speak to a bank manager. You will speak to somebody at functions like this. When the person asks you, what is your dreams? Do not be shy to tell them. I had one opportunity when I was selected to go and work at Rossing for 1 month, because I was not sure what I would do as a bridge year. I then became the South African champion in South Africa, and I was the fastest man, not fastest, I won the 200, so I was the best 200-meter runner at that time. I got Springbok colors, and I already had give the vision of what I saw myself. I didn't see myself after I lost my BMW that I continue in South Africa. So I wanted to go either to England or I wanted to go to America. And that was my dream now. So, if you work in the mines, you have to understand in mines they have a hierarchy that you have to speak to your supervisor. You can never go one level high. You have to follow the protocol, as they say. And my supervisor said, over my dead body, will you go to America or England? You will go to UCT like all our students are going. And then after I became the Springbok, I became the winner in South Africa, I had the opportunity to meet with the MD. And this is where I encourage our athletes to not be shy if somebody asks you the dreams. And he asked me, where do you see yourself going now? And I said, yeah, I see myself that I would like to go to America or either to the UK because I've done everything now in the Southern African context. And he said, yeah, but it doesn't sound so complicated. I think, scholarship here or scholarship there, it's the same scholarship that we pay. I can tell you my supervisor was not happy. But that is what happened. And I think what I want to make sure and explain to the athletes is that I call them the 5 nuggets. It is, you need to find a purpose, and my purpose was obviously to make sure that I take my mother out of poverty. And then you have the hard work. You have to decide that you're going to work hard. And especially for us, the athletes, people want to see us fail. Because we are on the back papers, we are doing well when we do well. And I can tell you, when people encourage you to do well and you do well, they also want to see you fail. So make sure that you work hard. For me, the important thing was get an education. Make sure that you get your education, because if you have an education, you can make the right choices along the way. Be disciplined. Be disciplined in making sure that if you fail, try again. Do not give up, because it is very important. And find good mentors. There's so many people in this room that have mentored me. I came and sit with them, I asked them questions. They have mentored me. I had my mother that mentored me, and I had Uncle Den that was like a father figure that also mentored me. And these were the people that mentored, that I can go to, because you need to find that place where people will not be afraid to tell you the truth. If we are good football players, we are good sportsmen, we always think that we are the ones that will tell people what we want. But this, in our culture, we have that, and I think that is that. And then the last one is to make sure that you leverage your opportunities. And this is where I discuss now about making sure that when you get an opportunity, that you make sure that you sell yourself, because you will only get that one thing. And I always encourage the athletes, if you speak on TV, get a few things that you want, because you don't know what people want to say. First, tell them what they are. If they ask you a question, you tell them what they want to know, and then afterwards you sell yourself. Sell yourself, because you don't know which MD, you don't know which person is sitting there. And as every athlete growing up, especially you heard, we all grow up in the dusty streets of Katutura, we all have a good story to tell. And what we should not be afraid of, we should not be afraid to tell our stories, because our stories are the ones that will differentiate a company going to decide where they're going to put their hard-earned money. They need to have a nice and a wonderful story to tell. I think some of the athletes see the accolades that Mboma and Beatrice are getting. But it's a nice story. And that is what we need. We need nice stories to tell, and people will throw their money on them. I want to conclude by saying that I hope this is a start. But after the sports, I think the athletes need they need financial advice, they need financial education, they need some jobs where they can be educated. I think especially now that, at age 17, we expect many kids will stop school at age 17. Where are they going to go? And what about the athletes? Because the athletes are the ones that are just competing, and they don't know that. I hope that AIMS will make sure, or make a place that is athlete-friendly for the athletes to know, if I come here, I know it's 2 years, but let's get away from this strict thing that you have to pass all these 2 years. If you don't pass, you fail, gone are you. So let's try and maybe have an athlete-friendly thing where we give them maybe 3 years, so that if they miss one exam, they can take it the next year to get the degree. So I hope that the leadership will look at that. I just want to thank you once again for coming here. I would like to apologize to my heroes. I would like to apologize to the guys that have mentored me, because one of you should have come up here and speak, and not some little young boy that grew up in front of you. But thank you very much for the inspiration that you have laid out there for me. I know that, unfortunately for you, you competed before independence. You did not have the privileges that I had. Why me? I just want to apologize on the independence or for you, because I can tell you, when I grew up, when I saw the guys run, I know that those guys were faster than me, but they did not have the opportunities to showcase their talent against the best. And I mean, that's how they say, that's how the cookie crumbles. But I hope that I have, made you proud, taking my opportunity to make the best I can with it. And I just want to thank Cassius for inviting me, and all the best with this thing, and then just take it. Thank you very much.